Cannot be a greater contrast in terms of cricketing cultures between these two teams. Chennai Super Kings and Delhi Capitals. What a clash it sets out to be. Qualifier number 2 at Visakhapatnam, a place in the IPL final 2019 up for grabs. It should make for a fascinating conversation. It should make for an intriguing contest. It's not something that these two teams have given us in the 2 times that they've met this season. But let's hope that a knockout game, a playoff game, will be different. On ESPN Cricinfo Matchday T20 to build up to that game in just over half an hour from now. 3 Shades of Grey in the studio. Dan Vettori is here with Ajit Agarkar and myself. Is that a fair way to sum up these two teams or to put out these two teams? So different in the way they approach their teams, their squads, the auction table, on field as well?
I think that for CSK it is. I think for Delhi they've just tried to get rid of their legacy. So they're a new team, and not only in their name, but I think in the way they see themselves. So I think it's a Delhi team that is feeling incredibly confident, and that could be obviously for a number of reasons. It's because they've been winning. It's individuals playing really well, some senior players like Shikhar Dhawan coming in, and their management as well. So I think it's a whole lot of things for them to view themselves in only a positive way.
Yeah, again, that adds to the colour of the contrast, doesn't it? Delhi have tried to shake off this, whatever history they've had. Chennai, you look at the first Chennai to the last Chennai team, you'll still find some shades of similarity, and they like to keep it that way. They like continuity, and they like things about them, which remain the same.
I think Delhi have tried to change it a few times, not just once this time. I think the difference is obviously Chennai, when they picked their first team, obviously from then they've got 3 or 4 really good Indian players who are still with them. I mean, Ashwin's probably the only guy who sort of moved on, which made it easier for them to then build teams. Delhi have struggled with that, and for the first 3 years they had a couple of them, or 3, or Gambhir and Sehwag particularly. They couldn't quite hold on to that, and then I've been part of teams where they've tried to rebuild, and one season because of some individual performances got it right. But in general, seems like they've stumbled upon now a team that they could have for the next few years.
Yeah. All right. Now let's focus on the toss itself. Before that, have a look at the head-to-head between both teams. And you've got the overall record in favour of Chennai, which is no surprise, given the history that Chennai Super Kings have. 14 to them out of 26 to Delhi. In the knockout stages, it's 1-1, right? It's 1-0 in one game, but that's different. This is all history, and Delhi has nothing to do with their history right now. They'd like us to believe. Tosses happen in Visakhapatnam, and it's obviously going to go in favour of Chennai Super Kings because these things tend to happen for MS Dhoni. In all seriousness, though, I wonder if this is a toss that you just don't mind losing. Delhi wanted to chase last time. Chennai will be chasing this time with a batting that's under a bit of pressure. How do you view this toss that's gone down in this massive game?
I'm sure there's a due. The dues played a little bit of a part. Also, Chennai spinners, don't want, if there is some dew around, they don't want to bowl with a wet ball at all, and that naturally gives the batting team advantage. Yeah. And Chennai is not quite sure about their batting at the moment, is it? What if they bat well enough to post a total with the likes of Rishabh Pant, Shikhar himself, Shreyas, Prithvi on this smallish ground can be a little difficult to defend. So might end up being a good toss. We'll have to wait and see the conditions, but could be a good toss to win.
Seems like they've put a bit more thought into it than normal, because I think the CSK team feeling good, but just turn up, we'll back ourselves, and we'll let our spinners do the job in the back end with some pressure in front of them. So I think there have been a lot of deliberation around what they were going to do. So I think that means a great contest. It means that there's a few nerves in the CSK camp and a Delhi team.
Sure. To post a total.
It's always good to lose a toss. Then you've got an excuse for it. You're good.
With the way Delhi have gone this season in chases, they almost make a meal out of some of their chases. They got over the line against Sunrisers, but may just be a good thing that Delhi are put into bat. That's how they started this year's campaign. Chennai a bit unsure and bring in Shardul Thakur. So Murli Vijay loses out. Shardul Thakur gets a game. So MS is clearly putting it, Ajit, on his batsman to do the job, and he's brought in the extra seam option.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not really losing out anything in the batting. Murli Vijay batted 4 last game, which I don't think it's a great position for him. Messes up with the rest of the batting lineup. You still got MS Dhoni, Raidu, Jadeja, Bravo didn't get a bat last game, and they still ended up with less runs than they should have. So, what's the point of packing batsmen when you already have 6 or 7 good ones? I mean, Shardul Thakur himself can hit a few at that number 8 if need be. And if you need the number 8 to get you the runs, you're in trouble in any case. But it's a good move.
You're okay with it?
Yeah,
You
it's a good
welcome that
move
move.
on this ground as well. You need an extra seamer.
Dan?
Takes all the confusion out of play, and that's CSK at their best. They keep it simple. They back the players. So I think really VJ at 4 was confusing for them, and they probably talked a lot about should we open with them, should we move Faf down, should we move Watson down, and in the end they just took all those distractions out of it and dropped them.
At the end of the day, runs were scored by Raidu and Dhoni to get them to some sort of total. Okay, Vijay got a little.
Yeah, and
a
like
few
you said,
runs,
Bravo
but-
and Jadeja were both unused in that game.
Yeah, I mean, if Watson and Faf again struggle, or Raina, which is had a tough season, again it's going to have to be Dhoni and Raidu, or likes of Dhoni and Raidu. I don't think Vijay was going to have an impact at number 4, like he would have had maybe perhaps opening the innings.
All right, Delhi's team is unchanged. We're just having a look at that as well. So they stick with the same overseas options. We had some talk in the preview on Chris Morris, perhaps a possible option if they wanted to do away with either Kimo Paul or Trent Bolt. There's also the option of Sandeep Lamichhane given a turn the other night against Sunrisers Hyderabad. Dan, you happy with the fact that they've gone with the same team?
Yeah, good team. I think they once again would have taken the confusion out of their selection as well by backing the team that's got them to this situation. So I think they knew Ingram was out of form, so they gave Munro a chance, and it would have been tough just to take it back off him after one go. And then I think they want to back that bowling group, because if you bring Morrison, can he offer that death option that Bolt has done, even though it's probably not to the standards they would like. And Kimo Paul had a really good game in the last one. So I think all those combinations factored in with the fact that they're winning means that they're feeling good about themselves. So they're going to back that team, and that 11 will feel like they can get the job done.
Sorry, it's a bit of a disappointment for me. I think Chris Morris should have been the guy that they probably build their team around. Unfortunately,
But is it a
because he's got the
disappointment
ability.
for that Delhi have not picked him, or that
No,
Morris is not?
his performances.
Right,
Not. I think it's the right selection. I mean, I picked him in the previous team of mine before the in the preview, but I think it's the right call. I think Kimo Paul's done better than him, and seems like he's got better form than him. So.
All right. He started the season so well, Chris Morris, and then it just seems to have fizzed off for him. But he still remains Delhi's second highest wicket taker with 13 wickets in 9 games this year. They have the experience of Trent Bolt, so that depth in squad again showing, and all that hard work put into the auction table is yielding some fruit now, which maybe takes us to the conversation on Chennai's batting and the fact that it's been an area of concern. MS Dhoni has put the responsibility on his batsmen. Because he struggled to get a start from the likes of Shane Watson at the start, Ambati Raidu, who was opening, then Faf du Plessis. We're looking at the poorest run rates and averages in the power play, gentlemen, and Chennai right on top. Taking away the fact that they've had some small chases to get in some of the Chepauk games, Dan. You were on the back of Raidu's excellent season last time. Why is it hard to sometimes follow up a very good season which openers have had this year to the next? There's no change in personnel.
Well, probably the fact that he hasn't opened too much. I think they took that away from him relatively early. I'm amazed at the discrepancy there between that average and run rate in the power play and how much they've won. And I know that Chepauk is a factor in all that, but that's a huge difference from every other team. So once again, they've thrown that reliance on Dhoni. I think they have played on some tough wickets, so it hasn't allowed the stroke making of Watson, the way he likes to play early on, to come into play, and Raidu as well. Whenever I've seen Raidu play this season, he doesn't look as aggressive as he was last year. I think he took the game on the whole time. I remember him hitting Rashid Khan all over the place in a couple of games last year, maybe even 3 games. So a little bit of confidence possibly for him, and losing out on his World Cup spot, all those little things sort of weigh on you a little bit, and I think we haven't seen him. We haven't seen a different player, and I think it's purely down to mindset this season.
We just have a look at those home and away numbers one more time and continue the Raidu chat, because it's not like just because they're at Chepauk it was hard. They're still struggling to go at over 6.5 even away from home. In fact, the average is lower away than it is at home. Did Raidu just have a season that's so good that he may not have one like that again? That sort of thing.
Obviously he did, but also Shane Watson's form. I mean, he's the aggressor in that lineup. Usually if he's in good form, you won't find those sorts of strike rates, or the scoring rate won't be as low. I think the glaring thing is home and away. You could understand, like Dan said, they played on tough wickets in Chennai, but even their away form has not been great. I mean, Faf coming in has given them some teeth.
Yes.
But
he's a different kind of player. That's the strike rate Faf.
Yeah, but he's had 196 of which the strike rate was much higher. I think it was in the 170s at that point. So he can play at that strike rate. But Watson's just a different kind of player. You know, you saw what he did against Hyderabad. As soon as you know he got away with it in the first couple of overs, he's the one guy who can actually bat at that strike rate consistently through the innings, and he hasn't done that this season enough. Nor has Raina, who's a big factor. So,
but they'll still be hoping they can do it today.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll have any doubts in their mind that they can come out and do it, and that'll justify all the waiting the previous 15 games. That's how they'll be thinking.
What kind of character is Shane Watson? He came into this IPL winning the Player of the Tournament award at the PSL. You think he's, in spite of the lack of international cricket and the age, he's still more than whacking it around. And he gets a few low scores, lots of conversation. He's already said after that 90 game that I would have been dropped in any other team. Just take me through the psyche of Shane Watson.
He had a great big bash as well. So I think he's coming off a great IPL last year and then played cricket throughout the year. I know he went to the CPL and then obviously Big Bash, PSL. So I think he's coming into it full of confidence. But maybe previous years he wasn't feeling so confident, and that maybe led to a different mindset. But I would be surprised if it was nothing more than the vagaries of cricket. He's been unlucky at times.
He flicked one straight to Malaysia after that.
He's got out to some really bad balls as well.
I remember him being lucky last year as well, being dropped a few times.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it works. And look, I think he'll go into this game, like we've said before, thinking he can still contribute, thinking he can still have a match-winning performance. It may not be 90 off 50 balls, but if he gets them off to 30 off 20 or 30 off 15, then that could be a difference. And I think that's the conversations that the likes of Stephen Fleming will be having with him, that we still back you to be aggressive, just take it on. It hasn't worked so far, so if anything that you give us today is a bonus.
Also, maybe we don't have anyone else, so you've got to get the runs, Shane Watson. But if he had two players that he didn't want to face, he wouldn't pick Amit Mishra and Akshar Patel, and they're both in the opposition today. The bowlers that have dismissed Shane Watson the most number of times in the IPL. You've got Akshar getting him 5 times in 6 innings. We know this thing with Watson and left arm spin, and Mishra with 5 times in 11 innings. Again, it goes down to the character of Shane Watson. There are some Aussies like Glenn Maxwell, if you try and pose a question and say, oh, there's a poor record against leg spin, he says, that's rubbish because I can whack leg spin. And if you tell Shane Watson that, is he going to say, oh, I'm going to work the left arm spin around, or is he going to say, I'm going to whack the left spin?
I think he has some doubts around the left arm spinner. I know it's something he works really hard on, and that's that he still has a game plan, and he wants them to drop short and obviously hit over long on and cow. I think leg spin he's pretty confident against. I think that those numbers are obviously tough against him, but I think he'll still go into the game thinking I can take on Mishra. The left arm spin early, if they open with Akshar Patel, that's a daunting prospect, even for Faf as well, because this surface gripped a little bit, and when Akshar's bowling that fast and it holds up or spins a little bit, then he's a difficult proposition.
We're talking about Watson, how Dhoni sort of backs his guys, but somewhere is it the other thing now? Let's say CSK don't win this game today. Will it then be a reflection of, oh, but they never had the squad depth. Even if they wanted to drop Watson, there's no one that could ideally come in, maybe Sam Billings, but apparently there's a niggle that he's carrying around. They didn't have the depth, so they were stuck with Watson. And sometimes when we say Dhoni trusts his players, there could be a downside to that too.
It is, but I mean, he won them that game when it needed to be. So it's one of those things. I mean, you'd ideally want some sort of depth. You want some, at least the option to have another player or think about another player. It becomes a bit difficult when someone like Watson has done what he has done for CSK over the last year. He's played a couple of couple of man of the matches this year. 190 odd and a 40 odd. So I think it might be more than some of the other players who've done better this season. So it's a tough one. Yeah, but there's no doubt with 8 overseas players allowed, you'd want that one option at least. Need be. I don't think they could have afforded that option now because it's too late, and you'd rather go with Watson and hope that he comes good today, because if he does, CSK will be in a great position to win.
That man of the match award, the 44 that he got in the second game of the IPL, was against Delhi Capitals. So that adds a little bit of confidence to Shane Watson. And the minute we write a CSK player off, or even Shane Watson, for all you know, is going to smash 100 and take them to the final. So put that into your account. And the fact is that they have been reliant on Watson, but they've not been as reliant on MS Dhoni this season as they have ever, I guess. Let's look at the numbers for Mahendra Singh Dhoni. When it comes to the most percentage of runs in overs 18 to 20, he's just aced the end game as MS Dhoni. Russell's there. Hardik Pandya's had a staggering season. Marcus Stoinis, in a small period of time, has been impactful for RCB. You got Pollard in that too. he continues to do it. There has been a slight difference in approach from Dhoni this season in the IPL, though, in comparison to others. He hasn't necessarily left it that late, even though he gets the runs at the death.
Yeah, I think could be a difference in when he's walked in. I mean, great strike rate, great average, obviously lots of not outs, but lots of runs as well. So I think what usually happens is that if they get off to a decent enough start, then he tends to take his time because there are runs on the board. I think a lot of times he's walked in when the run rate required has been 12 or 14 or 15 runs and over. And he's tended to take the spinner on early. But if you require 8 or 9 runs and over, I think he still thinks he can take his time. Even if it goes to 10, he can still score that. But this year he's been put in a lot tougher situations, which is answered really well. I mean, it's good to see that he does take that chance early, because then it makes the bowler think differently at the moment. Otherwise, bowler knows that he's going to take a couple of overs to get himself in, and you can get a few dot balls in. He's stopped that in a lot of the games, which obviously tells you why his strike rate is as high as it is.
This thing also of Dhoni picking and choosing his bowlers is going around a lot this IPL. You look at how he's done against the Delhi bowlers. That will drive us to our next talking point. The exception of well, actually, there's no one. Even Chris Morris, 140. If you're going to go with Chris Morris at 140, that's a bit of an exception, then great. But we've been saying he waits for his Umesh Yadavs and Jaydev Unadkats, with due respect to them, Dan. But there's this Trent Bolt in that list that he's taken apart, world-class player. There are a few others that you go around with. So it's not, I think we've been proven a bit wrong that it's not about just picking and choosing his bowlers.
He's picked and chosen all the bowlers. I think he hasn't discriminated at all. I think it feels like there's nothing more to say about Dhoni. He just does it time and time again. And the thing that I think other cricketers or fans or people who sit back and watch is the consistency. And I think there's a lot of pressure on him to do it, and the amount of times that he pulls it off, even though is he going to do it this time? It feels like he's left it too late. More often than not, it feels like he gets the job done, and that's why he's been such an exceptional player, and that's why he's led CSK to so many titles. So I think he just has supreme confidence in what he's doing, and whether it comes from within his own head or whether it comes from knowing bowlers and having success against bowlers in the past, I'm not too sure. I think it's probably a combination of all those things, but he's just really good.
Yeah, I think what's made it even better is the amount of runs he scored. It's not just 25s or 30s or 35s. 30. He's had to score 50s or 80 or 84 in that instance against RCB, which has made it even more impressive because constantly the batting's failed at the top, and he's had to do bulk of the runs, which has made this season even more impressive.
Yeah, he's got very fond memories of Visakhapatnam in the IPL as well. It's the ground where he smashed Akshar Patel for 4 sixes on the trot to win a dead rubber, albeit because RPS were out. But he's going to be up against Akshar today, and Vizag is also the ground that we saw the announcement of a long-haired MS Dhoni walk in 2005, 14 years to this day, and smash 148 at number 3 against Pakistan. I don't think you played that game.
No, I was part of the series later.
Yeah.
To the day, is it?
14 years, it's not the exact day, but 14 years, hell of a long time. It seems like it's just flown by.
Yeah, smashed it that day. Batted completely differently to what he does, obviously, just sort of raw instinct at that point, and then experiences turned him into a different player.
And there he is, 14 years later, still being relied on or banked on to take his team through to the final of the IPL. We'll see how it goes. MS Dhoni will have the chance to bat later now, given he's decided to give Delhi a crack first on this pitch. Let's go to Delhi and their batting now. It is also the legend of Dhoni against the heir apparent in Rishabh Pant, and we'll dig out the numbers for Pant. He's doing what Dhoni is doing for CSK. He's contributing more than most others in wins, Dan. We're looking at an average of 52 in wins, strike rate of 170. I don't know if a team views that as a good thing or a bad thing, that if one guy does well, that you've got a significantly high chance of winning. And the other way, the narrative in the opposition would be, just get this guy, and you know that you're almost got the game.
It's Dhoni versus Rishabh Pant today. That's the only contest going on. I think teams do think like that. I think when Rishabh Pant comes out, it's going to be CSK thinking, how are we going to get him out straight away? They're actually not going to be thinking about containing him because he's very difficult to contain. But a lot of pressure will go on bowlers. I'm sure they'll have a game plan around Harbhajan coming in. But more often than not, the whole demeanour of the game changes when Dhoni walks in or Rishabh Pant walks in because they are so aggressive and because they've been so successful. So when Rishabh Pant does walk to the crease, whenever it is, look for CSK to be on top of their game, to use their most aggressive bowlers to try and get them out.
What's the plan then? What's the plan for you?
Harbhajan
will bowl a bit in the top. I'm thinking with Shikhar Dhawan there too.
I think they'll use Harbhajan 1 or 2 at the top, see how he goes, and then depending on how long Shikhar bats for, and then come in with against Rishabh Pant. I think they'll, with the extra seamer now as well, they'll try and take a lot of pace off the ball. Even though it wasn't successful for Sunrisers, I think they'll back themselves with Bravo, Deepak Chahar to bowl a lot of off spin wide of the crease, wide of the stumps, and hope that Rishabh Pant tries to take it on. And we've seen on this wicket, if you get it right, it is tricky to bat on with pace off the ball.
Would you go with that as a seamer against Pant? Let's say the off spinner, plan A doesn't work, plan B the seamer. You saw Basil Thampi get it horribly.
Yeah,
wrong.
I couldn't believe he didn't come over the stumps when it didn't, because he wasn't getting it right. It just gave him the angle to work with. Loves hitting on the leg side with the angle, and it's supremely talented. I mean, there are some, even if there's no pace on the ball, he can still wait and almost whack it. So, I saw someone wrote on Twitter or something a couple of days back that Rishabh Pant should start becoming sensible.
Yes.
I mean, should show them the stat how many games he's won for Delhi or contributed in the wins. I mean,
He
doesn't have to always score the last run.
We said to keep going.
No, actually, Karthik did give him some criticism, saying that you can't just get to the.
You can't have a MS Dhoni
finish
at the age of 22 or 24. It's and you don't want to curb that natural instinct. I mean, that's what won Delhi the game. It's a bit silly. I think people just expect a perfect player just because he's that good. I think you should let him be.
He got the game to 5 of 8. If you can't win from there, even without the others, he'll finish them off with time, you'd think. But the conversation's clear on Rishabh Pant. But let's talk more of him and his approach and try and break down perhaps what goes on in the mind of Rishabh Pant, which I don't think is too much. Sees ball, hits ball. 2019, he's averaging 62, strike rate of 138. This is in overs 7 to 15. And that's our expression of how he slows down, Dan. He goes at 140. Apparently that's the numbers because he goes crazier at the start. Does a big game like this and now batting first, at least he knew what he had to get last time. But batting first right now, can you say something to a player like Pant just to tell him, this is how important you are and this is what we need you to do today, or is it just go out there and hit it?
Not go out there and hit it, but I think you saw the emotion from Ponting after the last game where he went and gave Rishabh Pant a big cuddle, so they knew how important that performance is. And I think because that sort of relationship's going on, I assume it's just about giving him the confidence to go out there and play. And they don't want to take that away from him. And they want him to be able to take on some of the Chennai bowlers, irrespective of what we talked about before with Chennai trying to attack him with off-spin. I still think Rishabh Pant will still look to hit Harbhajan over cow corner for 6. He'll look to hit him over long on for 6.
Can you take that away though? Can you tell him, look, you got the other 4 guys, you've got every chance of succeeding against them. Don't take Harbhajan.
Well, I think when you do that, it means that, okay, it's all on you, Rishabh Pant. You've got to get the runs. If you don't get them, then we're in trouble. And that may put a burden on him that he doesn't want. And I don't know him personally, but he may just need that freedom to go out there and play and know that if it doesn't quite work out, he's going to walk back into a dressing room that feels pretty comfortable about that. And plus, there's some pretty good batsmen around him, so I don't think he should have that burden that it's all on him, even though he's done so well this season and winning performances. So I think the conversations will be pretty much the same. Play a natural game, pick your targets and go for it.
Okay, he also makes up for it at the death if he goes to that slow, sluggish 140, 138 because he's got a strike rate of 243 and that still features 3rd in the IPL this year. That's cruel and it's a testament to what the Eden Gardens and the Chinnaswamy Stadium have done for Andre Russell and AB de Villiers. But maybe this would this play onto you batting order in any degree? So maybe we should hold Rishabh Pant back just a bit. There's Colin Munro too. Or keep Pant at 4 no matter what.
Yeah, I think they'll do that. I think because he's got the game to succeed at 4 also. It's not just, it's not, okay, obviously he's aggressive, but it's not like he's just, swings blindly. He still has someone who gets hundreds in Test cricket away from India has got to have the other side of the game as well. So I can't imagine them, a form player being dropped down the order doesn't make any sense. I mean, that's an incredible, I haven't seen too many guys get Bumrah as well as he did at Wankhede in that first encounter. I think maybe he's gone for a few runs this IPL on some tougher venues, but not too many batsmen in the world at the moment have got after Jasprit Bumrah as well as Rishabh Pant did.
Yeah, all right. Let's move to our next match point, shall we? That's for Rishabh Pant, and he's going to have the best spin attack arguably in the tournament up against him. CSK's numbers when it comes to the most wickets taken by a spin unit in a single season in the IPL are the very best in the history of the tournament. That's a staggering stat given the amount of spinners that have gone together. Dan's been part of a number of those. But 2019, 15 innings, 55 wickets, economy of 6.7, strike rate 17.5. Forget everything about the Chepauk. I think we can still say that these guys have been along with Dhoni, the other single most important factor for Chennai getting where they are in this tournament.
I agree. I think the chipbook does play a big part. I think that's a significant contributor to that, because you saw them at Mohali and they still had 170 on the board, and it was difficult for them to be in their natural role because the wicket just came on so easily. So I think they want a wicket that's going to offer some spin, and that brings the third spinner in all the time, because when you're playing 3 and the wicket's flat, then it's incredibly difficult to get through those 12 overs. But Vizag's proved it can turn, and that's why it makes it easier for a matchup for them. So I think the conditions have been a major factor in the success of 3 spinners, because you can't play 3 spinners unless the wicket allows you. So they're going to be happy about playing in Vizag because it'll allow all those 3 spinners to bowl their full allotment.
Sorry, if you look at that, if you put that stat back on of all the spinners or the venues, you look at all those years, it's either Kolkata, Chennai, and then there's one RCB when it was a slowish pitch, I think, in that particular year. And like Dan said, you need help. Otherwise, you can't have spinners creating such an impact on flat wickets in this format. Unless you're a mystery spinner.
The conversation around Chennai spinners is usually also almost themed with MS Dhoni and his use of spin and how he's one of the best captains when it comes to using his spinners. I know Ajit's spoken many times of how fast bowlers like the backing of their captain. They bowl differently when there's a bit of confidence shown. Something like that, with the spinners care much about how much the captain's giving them, offering them, using them. Does it make a big difference?
100%. I think it makes or breaks a spinner. I think that relationship and the confidence, coupled with the fact that he's a wicketkeeper, and I think a wicketkeeper has the best understanding of a spin bowler's action and whether the ball's coming through in the right manner. So he'll be able to tell whether a spinner's on, whether he's bowling well, or whether it's the pitch, or whether he's getting away with things. So I think Dhoni reads his bowlers exceptionally well, and the fact that he knows when they're bowling well, he knows when they're ahead of a batsman, and therefore he gives them more opportunities and uses them in an aggressive manner. I think when he thinks a bowler's not going that well, he just doesn't bowl them. And we've seen that on a few occasions. I mean, Jadeja last season, he obviously didn't think he was bowling as well as he could, and he really bowled him. So I think that relationship and him being able to read a bowler is pretty important.
I think eventually he used Jadeja the most in the game against RCB, wasn't it? We got a few at Pune.
Let's focus on
I have
this.
no idea why I did that. It's my last few days of doing this. Sorry.
They didn't play at Chennai either much.
They didn't. Yeah, credit to them. It was at Pune last year. They played most of their home games. Look at some more numbers though. The impact of Chennai spinners when it comes to winning. And if they pick up 5 or more wickets, they've always won. Now, I don't know if the spinners sitting back in that last qualifier, the eliminator, Ajit would have seen Amit Mishra get a 3-4 and Rashid Khan as well turn the game around and say, oh, we don't mind this. This isn't too far from the chip-off.
Yeah, I think they would have been very happy with the pitch. I mean, if it is like the one the other night, then there's definitely an advantage to it, especially now that they're batting second. So they'd be hoping for some turn. Not a bad pitch because they have to bat second, but definitely some turn. I think if that happens, then all the spinners. The tricky part is I hope Delhi can keep one of the left-handers out there. They've got 3 in the top 5, Manroor, Rishabh and Shikhar.
Shafane Rutherford as well.
And Shafane Rutherford.
Just keep coming.
Yeah, because Dhoni is always averse to bowling Jadeja when there's a left-hander on. Might play into their hands a little bit because no matter who the bowler is, I think there's still something on offer. So.
Yeah, we've got Ravindra Jadeja also who has fond memories of this place. If you look at his game against the Deccan Chargers in April 2012, we actually brought this up on the quiz face-off a little while back. Best bowling figures. He's also got the best batting performance in the IPL. So Jadeja enjoys this ground, and at least there is some significance to it. Fact spinners have also been key, is because Dwayne Bravo hasn't been as effective after he's come back from injury. Just looking at the longest run without a wicket for Dwayne Bravo before we move to Amit Mishra and the rest is that Bravo has not got a wicket for 5 games. Is that a matter of concern if you're MS Dhoni, or Bravo's still sort of going at an economy of around 8 and you would accept that?
I think you would. I think that they've used them in a different way in terms of, I feel like I've seen him bowl a lot of wide Yorkers this game, and that doesn't always lend itself to taking wickets. It's used in a more defensive manner. They use them at the death. So I don't think they'll be worried. If he has bowled late as well, they might try to bring him on a little bit early just to see if he can get himself in the game. And he may bowl in a more aggressive manner. And when he's bowling aggressively, he's using that off spinner a lot, trying to deceive batsmen and using his bouncer. So I think he's looked to be economical more than aggressive, and he may flip that switch today.
Okay, quickly let's move on as players already make their field for this second qualifier. Amit Mishra has been excellent for Delhi. He was in the other night against Sunrisers Hyderabad. You're looking at his top 5 seasons. This one ranks at number 5. But they didn't start Amit Mishra this year. They chose Tewatia and they preferred Lamichan as the overseas option. Still got a bit in him, Amit Mishra.
Yeah, brilliant. I think that performance against Hyderabad especially, just the use of the pitch obviously, and 2 good players playing. So, no, impressive performance. Again, experience. You might have been hurt as well, having been left for a sort of lesser experienced player. So, no, he's come good at the right time. This pitch also will be an important factor if Delhi have to stop Chennai.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Amit Mishra doesn't run, he will be okay today, with the bat that is. But if you're looking at numbers against right and left-handed batsmen too, there aren't too many left-handers, just Raina and Jadeja that he has to contend with. But numbers are excellent against the right-handers. Could very well be the difference. Amit Mishra, we're also focusing on Trent Bolt when it comes to his record in the IPL. Looking at Delhi's bowlers in phase-wise, Trent Bolt's numbers, 16 to 20, 12.8. How do you fix that? Because he's such a good bowler internationally, and this happens not the first time we've seen Trent Bolt's numbers go off at the death.
Well, I think when Trent's bowled well at the death for New Zealand, he's taken wickets in that period, and so he's been able to get on top of batsmen. He's been able to bowl at a new batsman, so he may have got away with a few balls. So I think more than anything, they'll probably game plan around him trying to take some wickets, trying to take the pace off the ball. He's tried to bowl a lot of Yorkers this season, and if you miss those, they can go. And he's bowled to Dhoni way too much at the death as well, which makes it tricky.
Okay, the first ball almost was underway, and Deepak Chahar has given us, he may have just pulled out for another reason, but it looked like Shikhar Dhawan was well out of his crease backing up. Anyway, let's go to our Fab Fours and have Dan Vettori and Ajit Agarkar pick their 4 for the day. Gentlemen, who wants to go first?
You go, Ajit.
Oh, is it? Okay. Shane Watson.
Okay.
Let's go Shane Watson.
Yeah, with his
and
great
I'm
record
going to
this year,
go-
you know he's going to get it.
I'm going to go MS Dhoni.
Yeah.
Don't want any.
You're going
Chennai
Watson and
bowlers.
Dhoni.
All batsmen today. Shikhar Dhawan
All right.
and Rishabh Pant.
All right. Dhawan, Pant, Dhoni, Watson. Dan.
Mishra, pretty sure. Jadeja and Suresh Raina.
All right, brilliant. I'll pick mine.
Oh, you
as
can.
well.
Oh, it is your day today,
Oh,
so you get
I'm
to
playing as well. I'm throwing it. Who you've taken? Who? Mishra, Jadeja, Suresh Raina, and
pretty sure.
Prithvi Shaw.
Pretty sure.
Okay. Wow, you've given me such a wealth of options to pick from. Then I will go for Harbhajan Singh and Imran Tahir, and on the other side, the only ones that are left are Shreyas Iyer, who I'll go for again, and I will take Akshar Patel. Right. Thank you very much,
Excellent.
gentlemen.
You seem very happy with your pick.
No, I'm not. I've taken whatever's left.
He introduced himself
I've
into the
taken
game in the
whatever's
last 2 days.
left.
It's just-
Yeah, it's all about me now. All right. Get lost, both of you. Ajit Agarkar, Dan Vettori. See you at halftime. See all of you as well. We'll see how many Delhi can get. If they get some runs, should make for a cracking second qualifier. Place to the IPL finals up for grabs. So expect the very best in a contest as good as the one we got the other night in Vizag.